So, bro, y'all know the like button don't like itself. Yeah. Let me say that to you again. You know the like button don't like itself. Yeah. The share button don't share itself. And the subscribe button don't subscribe itself. That's all up to you. So help the like button be liked, help the subscribe button be subscribed, and help the share button be shared by pressing them with these things right here you got. They're called fingers. Bing, bang, 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 bang. Please. Thank you. Let's get started with the show. Hold on one second. We're about to get to the bottom of this, ladies and gentlemen. This don't make no sense whatsoever. Welcome to the Dark Waters channel, where we explore mysteries, figure out the truth, dive into politics, and anything else you want to know about. That's what we doing over here, baby. Let's go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The one and only James Williams, Dark Waters, and I'm back. And this evening we're going to be, let me talk like an AI. This evening we'll be delving into the mysteries of what is going on in the political realm. And I want you guys to notice how everything happening in the political sphere has overwhelmed and overcame all things strange, weird, and paranormal. Have you noticed that? Have you noticed we had a brief period where we had drones and UFOs hit the spotlight and then boom, gone? Do you want to know why? I'm pretty sure you want to know why. Because 90% of the things that everybody considers to be mysteries, it's just common knowledge. And secondly, 90% of the things that you believe are mysterious were financed by the government. Yes, sir, they were financed by the government. Anybody who's really investigated the strange and weird things, they know these things. One of the things I discovered when I was investigating cryptids and monsters was that there were significant government funding programs that went towards that, called black budget programs. I have documents on them. I talked to my people and that in the Dark Waters family years ago about those documents. But everybody was like, oh, he's a fake and he's a fraud and he's lying. And so I said, hey, man, you know what? Oh my God, he's so fake. Let's go on to the real stuff. Now, here's what I anticipate you seeing. And this is just for sidebar note type stuff. When all of the dust settles, which is going to be a while before this dust settles, you're going to start getting some massive disclosures on things that will actually give you a lot of answers. Now, if they were somebody smart, they would know where to go get the disclosure because it's all there for them. I might get something just for me personally, but I'm not going to be putting bricks into the whole cryptid monster system anymore. So it'll be data that I have for myself, but it's all there. I've reached out to people and they say, well, what would you like to know about, James? Because this is a new world right now. Sidebar, note stuff. Into the politics of the day, something that's very important for you to understand. We've entered to the next phase of what I would like to call the punishment phase of politics. And I'll explain this to you from a political consultant perspective. When you don't have power, which is what we just went through as conservatives, and you haven't consolidated power, you are the opposition party. When you become powerful and you're no longer the opposition party and your enemy is now the opposition party, the right thing to do is to be gracious with them and say, hey, we need to get things together. Put a little pressure on them. And we've seen Trump do that. And to be honest with you, it seems as if he's moving fast and he's being kind of destructive, but he's actually not being as destructive as he should be, in my opinion. He's given them too much. He's been too nice, in my opinion. But now we move to the phase where the pressure is hitting. And this pressure phase is going to make people crack. We saw it yesterday with Eric Adams when they clawed back $80 million from the city of New York because it was leverage. And so now all leverage is getting ready to start to be used against them. Cash Patel is a key factor in this. And as Robert Kennedy Jr. RFK Jr. got confirmed yesterday and got sworn in, it's another point of pressure. But let's start with my favorite guy out of the group, who is Tom Homan. Tom Homan is my favorite because, in my opinion, Tom is a quintessential essence of how you execute power unapologetically. If you notice, when Tom Homan first came out and he started talking, he warned everybody. He said, be careful. If you break the law, we're going to come get you. He gave them ample warnings while people were screaming and hollering and saying stuff. And, we're going to defend the illegals. This again, he would come out and say it's against the law. You're breaking this rule and, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And this is how you know what real power does. A person who has true power and understands how to wield it, he doesn't want to just use it. He wants you to do the right thing. So he says, all right, man, I'm going to give you a shot. Do the right thing. No. And this is the thing about evil. See, evil don't really care, because in many instances, when you find a person who's participated in real evil, there's been no checks and balances. I mean, to gravitate towards true wickedness, there's been very little consequences and repercussions in a person's life. And when they did have consequences and repercussions, they kind of ignored it. It's kind of like, I'm going to attack everybody around me and dishonor everybody around me. And then all my friends leave and they just go get new friends and they go through the cycle again and again. It's because there's no truth in them. If you're a person that's watching me right now and you've experienced this, where you cycle friends for every 12 months, most likely you're a wicked SOB and you haven't gotten the message. Now let's extrapolate that to a larger level and let's talk about what's going on with the Democratic Party. You have to understand we're dealing with generational gaps. Should I explain this now or should I? I think you guys appreciate when I talk a little bit, so I'm gonna keep going. You have to understand we're dealing with generational gaps. So what has happened now, which nobody seems to understand, is Gen X, which is my generation and people older, who are really just trying to chill, raise their grandkids, do all the rest of this. Gen X and the generations before me are sitting there saying, hold on, bro. Y'all done laid up here and played too many games. Y'all doing stupid stuff. And we coming back. And what the gap is, Generation X grew up doing wild stuff. For example, in my neighborhood, we played tackle football in the street. We ran in the cars. We jumped up in the air, caught balls, and landed on the hoods of cars, rolled off, and kept playing. The only time we stopped playing football was when somebody called car time. And think about how crazy that is. You playing football, getting tackled on the street, literally tackled in the street, running in the cars, but the only time you stopped was when a car came up the street. Furthermore, we would do crazy stuff, absolute crazy stuff. 4th of July, think about now, 4th of July, everybody shooting fireworks and it's like, oh, let's go see the fireworks display. No, 4th of July, we had firework wars. We would light Roman candles and chase you and shoot at you with Roman candles. I ain't talking about a little bit, I'm talking about big old Roman candles. The big mortars that everybody run from. No. We shot them at you. We lit it, turned it, shot it. Boof. And if you got hit, then you got hit. We threw rocks at each other's faces, wrapped in mud. And you got to understand the generational gap that's playing out in front of you in politics. And so when we talk about people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the barista that went on to be in government, and you have Generation Xers and above, like Tom Homan coming to the table, he don't care. He honestly don't care. He doesn't. He's like, okay, I'm gonna warn you, don't do it. Pow. Remember, many of you guys are my age. You've experienced this. I remember my mama, my grandma on both sides, my daddy saying, hey, go outside and get a switch. Do you understand the psychological terrorism that is? You go outside, pick a branch off a tree that you gonna get whipped with. You had to take the leaves off of it yourself. And if you came back in with something too small, they sent you back out there. And then you got beat worse because you came in there with something too small. And so what we're seeing now is this clash of generations. I mean, really this clash of generations right now. Because some of the Generation Xers got rich and then they handed it on to their children and then they handed it on to their children. And the same weakening of the intestinal fortitude of people has taken over the government. That same generational wickedness. Now I'm gonna share something else with you real quick. Now, let me no, I'm going to share it now. Everybody who been running around talking about, yeah, you know, all the presidents come from the same bloodline. Y'all have heard this before, right? Anybody heard this? Raise your hand. Do you know the significance of that? All of them come from the same bloodline except Donald Trump, let's be clear. But do you know the significance of it? But it's the Illuminati bloodline. Ooh, I'm so smart. I know about the Illuminati. I'm a Gnostic person. I know all this secret knowledge. You don't have no spiritual filter for it. You know, you got the knowledge, but you don't have the spiritual filter for the knowledge. So therefore, the knowledge is just knowledge for its own sake. Yeah. So Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, George Bushes, all the Bushes, all of them come from the same bloodline. So that means that bloodline is cursed that was ruling over the United States of America. And how do you get redemption according to the Bible? Either that bloodline repents, which clearly none of them gonna do because they all wicked, or you get another bloodline that comes in place. And that new bloodline comes in, and that new bloodline takes control, and it has power, and then God functions through that bloodline. So everybody's like, oh, Barron Trump this, Barron Trump that. Duh. Come on, man. Anyway, I'm in one of my moods today, so y'all gonna have to deal with hardcore truth today, because I'm in, matter of fact, turn this damn hat on backwards. We in backwards hat territory today. And no, I ain't all pretty and polished like everybody else. I could polish up if I want to, but I ain't polishing. We just gonna do it. Let's go.
Anymore.
But Tom, you got AOC out there, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Congresswoman, putting out a webinar, doing a webinar to help illegals avoid, I guess, apprehension, giving tips about how to continue to remain in the country and ultimately game the system.
And I sent an email today to the Deputy Attorney General. At what level is that impediment? Is that impediment? I'm not an attorney. I'm not a prosecutor. Is that impediment? Is that impeding our law enforcement efforts? If so, what are we going to do about it? Is she crossing the line? So I'm working with the Department of Justice and finding out where is that line that they cross. So maybe AOC is going to be in trouble now, but I need the AOG to opine on that, because there's impediment is impediment in my opinion. I'm not a prosecutor, but we need some further guidance on that. But again, if we have to take every federal dollar out of the city, we'll do it. I mean, we're done. This is anymore.
So what he's basically saying is he referred her to the DOJ. Yeah, he didn't refer her for prosecution. He referred her for a review so they could figure out what they're going to do. And this is the next phase that we go into. We go into a phase where, and I want to be clear with you, you're going to see a lot of pressure, and it's absolutely necessary. Now, from a political perspective, understand that the majority of the nation is against what's going on. No matter what the news media says, no matter what the mainstream media says, the majority of the nation is against what these people are doing. And the unfortunate thing for them is the more this stays in the news, the more it wakes people up. The more they see them just being nonsensical and crazy, the more it wakes people up. So the pressure is at multiple pressure points. You know how you have pressure points on your body where you got this pressure point here. If you got a headache, you press here. You got the pressure point on your temples for a headache. You got the pressure point on your chin. You got the pressure point between your eyes. You got the pressure points on your cheeks. You got the pressure point here on your jaw. One right here. If you want to knock somebody out, if you really want to knock them out, you want to catch them right there and shake it, and it's going to whip that neck. If you really want to kill them, you're going to go here. There are certain pressure points, right? Imagine for a moment that all them pressure points getting hit all at once on what would be perceived as the Democratic political body. That's what's happening right now. They're getting hit in the toe. They're getting hit on the flat part of the foot. In fact, what Tom Homan and Donald Trump is doing right now is effectively stepping on their foot, grabbing them by the shoulders and pushing them down and not taking their freaking foot off their foot. And if you know what that does to a person, it literally shatters their knee and breaks everything. Your knee pops out of the socket, right? That's what they're doing them. Political violence is what's going on, and I'm loving it because I love political violence. I'm not going to talk about regular. I love political violence. Most people don't even see the violent nature of what's going on. They don't get it. And watch this. Let's go to Robert Kennedy Jr. Watch this. RFK. Oh, RFK. First point.
This profile is for these products.
He announces that he's going to do a scene injury report system. Now, the problem that we've run into with this overarching censorship on this topic is because money has been funneled to make sure and this funneling of money has been from the pharmaceutical industry threatening social media platforms saying, hey, you're not going to allow this or we're going to cut off our funding, right? When people understand the damage that's been done to them and their families based upon the pharmaceutical industry, it's going to dry up. All that funding dries up. So it's a multi-pronged attack happening on that industry right now, which is why I said yesterday, I believe this man is the one that's in the most danger out of everybody. Because when truth comes out and people actually look at the data, which parents will look at data. That's one thing we can say about parents. Like, if you love your child, you're going to go look for the solution for your son, and you're going to look at that data. Now, if you don't love your child and just rank devil and you just whatever, we can't do nothing about you. I think you should take as many of anything you want and let's just be done with you, right? But as these things come into play and people can actually take a look for themselves, and the data is in one place, and they can go read the data, which, quite frankly, it was already there. If you go back and look at my earlier videos, I did videos where we went into the VAERS system and looked at what the VAERS system was saying. I believe that's when all the censorship on this channel actually happened. I did it live. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter. You know what I'm saying? This is the battle for future generations. So it is what it is. Either you're going to support it or you're not going to support. Bada bing, bada boom. God is my substance, and he is the one that's my provider.
This profile is for these products.
Do you think the COVID vaccine was safe and the boosters were safe? I mean, a lot of people talk about adverse effects.
We don't have good data on it, and that is a crime. The fact that we don't have a surveillance system that actually works. In 2010, CDC has a surveillance system called the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Mm-hmm. And it's supposed to pick up injuries. But CDC did a study of that system in 2010. And that study said, and this is a published study by CDC, that it captures less than 1% of the vaccine injuries. That's inexcusable. Congress has repeatedly, and the Institute of Medicine, the National Academy of Sciences, have repeatedly ordered CDC to put together a better vaccine.
Will you require it?
And we will do that right away.
There's rumors out there that as many as 50% of the employees of HHS will be cut in the restructuring of government that DOJ is helping President Trump carry out. And people are wringing their hands. Your response to that?
I don't know anything about 50% of people being cut. There's 90,000 employees.
I'm going to say this about HHS. The funding for HHS should not be cut. There should be a revamping of the employees of the HHS, without a doubt. But you can't cut the funding for HHS. And in order to get to the truth, you're going to need to find and flush out the bureaucratic people that are in that department. And then you need to bring in a balance. You need to set the scales to where they're balanced, to where truth can come out. So I know that we need to cut costs significantly, and I'm in agreement with cutting costs. But this is an area where, in my opinion, you need to weed out the bad apples and you need to increase funding. Because here's where we're going to get our studies, our safety studies on everything that's going on. If there's anywhere that $1 billion needs to go, it needs to go here, but it needs to go into the right hands. Because this is about the health of the nation. And quite frankly, when we affect the health of the United States of America, we save the health of the world. So I don't know about the 50% reduction unless you can find 50% people who are just wilding that you know are rank devils inside of there. In my opinion, if I was sitting there talking to Secretary Kennedy, I said, well, sir, I understand that, everybody want to do this cuts and save money, and it's a great thing, but this is not the place where we need to be cutting. This is the place where we need to be cleaning out. This is a scalpel and not a hatchet type situation. Because if you do too many cuts, if you fire too many people, it's going to be harder to stand it back up the way it needs to be stood up. So this is a precision strike, not a nuclear strike. Now, other areas like USAID, that needed to be nuked, and it got nuked. You know what I'm saying? This is a precision guided missile strike was boom. You know what I'm saying? Damn near a drone strike. Boom. And then fix it. But you can't dismantle the whole thing. You understand what I'm saying? The dismantling the whole thing will actually make the situation 10 times worse. So I'm hoping that these are smart people. You know what I'm saying? That guy's he's smart enough to know what he needs to do. And I'm 100% confident, that he's smart enough to do what needs to be done the correct way. There's another story in the news that I thought was extremely interesting. Guys, you have to forgive me. I've had iced coffee, so some of my words will get cut short because actually I'm kind of belching as I'm talking. And so, like I said, ooze instead of news. That's because I was belching, and the only thing that came out was the ooze. Watch this one, though. This is something that I think is really, really interesting. So, Secretary of State Marco Rubio's plane en route to Munich for negotiations on the war in Ukraine on the sidelines of Munich Security Conference has turned around for unknown reasons. Well, it looks like it turned around because the windshield on his plane cracked. That's not normal. Yeah. That's not normal. We talking about a military plane that's flying and the windshield crack. And that happened while he was on his way to Munich, to Germany, to have a security conference. I'm not going to go ahead out on a limb and just say that somebody was taking shots at the plane. But I'm just going to bring it to your attention and say that's really, really weird. It's really, really weird. Seems like somebody's threatening him. Little Marco Rubio is under threat. So I'll tell you, here's the confidence I do have. Well, let's see what this says about the plane. Give me 1 second. According to Barak Ravid, an unnamed U.S. official has told him that U.S. Secretary of State plane turned around due to a crack in the windshield. It is not a safety concern. The secretary will switch planes and then restart the flight in Munich. Okay, to Munich. I'll tell you this, what I do have 100% confidence in. I have 100% confidence in the fact that if somebody out here in these streets playing them kind of games, they gonna get punished. They gonna get wrecked. They gonna get mollywopped. And I do have 100% confidence in that one thing. Because we've entered into a new parallel dimension in this political realm. And nobody wants to acknowledge it. We went into another timeline. As people, we got another timeline. Yeah, we went to another timeline, all right. It's time for the foot to be up there behind. That's where we at right now, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on while I give me a little bit to drink. Now, for those of you who don't know, each and every one of these shows is getting ready to be going out in podcast form. I'm just making sure my RSS feed is correct because I'm going to use my own RSS feed, and I want ownership of my feed as opposed to putting it through somebody else and then having all these problems, bada bang, bada boom. I don't build systems and infrastructure that can be broken and taken. That's the problem with the YouTube system right now. I really wish YouTube would give you access to your subscribers. And in fact, we need to do something about that. We'll do something about that today. Yes, there are ways around that. But nonetheless, on to Marco Rubio. I think it's kind of weird. I think it's strange. And I think it's something we should keep an eye on. Is it something we should be alarmed about? Yeah. Is it something we should be jumping up and down on the table about? No. Now, here's this other thing. There's this battle brewing that you all should be aware of. And I'm pretty sure you see it in the news, but you don't, man, I'm not going to say you don't understand. That's incorrect for me to assume what you understand. But I'll say this. There's a battle brewing where all these liberal judges who were Obama and Biden appointed judges are calling themselves hindering the Trump administration. So breaking, Judge Amir Ali just ordered the Trump administration to lift the funding freeze for foreign aid. So what you're trying to tell me is this judge, Amir Ali, has decided he gonna tell federal judge, decided to tell the executive branch that they're gonna have to lift the funding freeze. Now, if I'm president, I'm not gonna come out and say I'm not gonna come out and contend with these judges publicly, and I want to manage your expectations. The smartest thing to do is not to contend with them, is just to ignore their orders. Because what are they gonna do? They're gonna put me in prison? Are you gonna put the president in prison? You can order what you want. You can say what you want. Are you gonna put the president of the United States in prison? We've been through this. We've been down this road, right? So understand that this is a blitzkrieg attack against the administration, and it's going to fail. But you notice this is like the third judge. There was a judge that came out yesterday and said he stopped him from with the gender transitions, and there was one before that came out and said they stopped him from this, and it's lawfare. The problem that they have right now is when you had the advantage in lawfare prior to him becoming president, you failed. You absolutely failed, right? And so now imagine this. Every federal judge is being forced to expose their hand. Because if I'm a federal judge in a situation like this, in this environment, I'm not jumping out the window like this. But they're all jumping out the window. Let's take a look. A federal judge is blocking the Trump administration from canceling foreign aid contracts awards that were in place prior to Trump's inauguration. Consistent with the reasoning above, it is hereby ordered that defendants Marco Rubio, Peter Marchio, Russell Vought, and the U.S. Department of State, U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, this is all about their money, in the Office of Management and Budget, restrained defendants and their agents are temporarily enjoined from enforcing or giving effects to sections 1, 5, 7, 8, and 9 of Department of State Memorandum 25 States 6828, January 24th, 2025, and other directives that implement sections 3A, 3C of Executive Order 14169, reevaluating and realigning United States foreign aid. So basically saying he passed a judgment that they can't pause the funding. Now put yourself in the shoes of Donald J. Trump. I signed an executive order as the executive branch, and now the judicial branch is coming back and trying to fight my executive order, right? They're putting pressure on the State Department and saying that the State Department has to listen to the federal judge's decree. But it came from the executive branch. And so let's go behind the resolute desk in the White House. Let's just for a moment, we sitting down behind the desk, and they walk in and they say, President Williams, this judge, Ali, the Muslim judge came in and told us that we couldn't, we had to give the funding. What are we going to do? You better not let a dollar or a dime go. You better not let a dime go. Make him bust his next move. Tell him go get his military. Tell him come with the judicial branch's military and come get me. Where your military at, Judge? Where your army at, Judge? Where your police at, Judge? Come get me. Come get me with your police. Where you got him at? Come get me. Come get me. Come get me, is what I would say. And I tell Marco Rubio, I said, Mark, let him come get you. Yeah. Let him come get you, and let him come arrest you, and let him come arrest you while we keep on talking about who they've been sending this money to. Let's see if they won't play. They won't play chicken. Let's play chicken. Come get me. Yeah. This ain't October, September. This ain't August 2024. Come get me with your army. Wait, hold on. You don't have one. Come get me with your FBI. Hold on. You don't have control of that no more either. Come get me with your ATF. Hold on. You don't have that either. So what you said that mean was a piece of paper. Okay. So he gonna throw paper planes at Donald J. Trump. And this is what nobody gonna tell you. He might as well made this into a paper plane and just threw it. Hoping that that plane is going to go from his courthouse and miraculously fly across the White House lawn and then just hover around and wait for somebody to open the door and then go into the door. You understand what I'm saying to you? Come get me. Come get me. They ain't got nobody to come get them. It's a bunch of BS. Now, here's what's going to happen. In my humble opinion, this is my humble opinion, here's what's about to go down. You see, they all going to show their hands, because this is what wicked people do. They all say, hey, I'm evil. I'm evil. I want in. And then the next person, I'm evil. I want in too. I'm evil. They all going to show their hands. And see, you're going to hear rumblings of impeachments. No. They need to be replaced and removed. Now, the Congress and the Senate can vote to do this at any point in time. They can vote them out of there. So we're going to go into the whole impeachment investigation, blah, 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 blah. But the problem that they all have is the gloves is off. See, so all the dirt that you've done in the dark, yeah, you about to get it. It's all about to pop up. All that dirt. Ooh. Yeah, so keep an eye on each and every one of these judges, because it's going to be entertaining how it come down the pipeline. But in the meantime, I don't anticipate Donald Trump listening to nothing they got to say, because what they going to do, they going to arrest him. Oh, they going to arrest him? Nope. They not. They not arresting nobody. Now, let's go on to Elon Musk for a second. I saw something this morning where, well, you know what? Let me see if I can find where J.D. Vance was in Germany. This is the weirdest thing for the day. This is the guy in Patagonia, which, pause, let's talk weird, crazy stuff for a second. Patagonia is a place where they got all kind of freaky, weird stuff going on. But this is where a kayaker was swallowed by a whale. You know what I'm saying? Somewhere in the Bible, there was a guy that was supposed to be going to Nineveh. And he was like, I ain't going to Nineveh, God, because them people wicked and they evil. And if I go to Nineveh telling them people what you said, they gonna kill me. So he ran off, got on a ship, and then he ended up in the belly of a whale. Could you imagine being in the belly of a whale? Look at this, man. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. Oh, my Lord. Look at this. Look at this.
Ya, vente. Tranquilo, agarra el bote, agárralo, tranquilo, agárralo, no te subas, agárralo.
Yeah, I don't speak that language, but I imagine he said, what the hell just happened? You just paddling along, paddling. Yeah, and then, give me that. Ooh, boy.
Ya, vente.
Now, I don't know what that man did, but reportedly the whale spit him back out. But I don't know what you're doing, homie. But God trying to tell you something. God is trying to tell you something right now. Yeah, God trying to tell you something. All right, that's not what I was looking for. Give me 1 second. So J.D. Vance today went and spoke with the people in Germany about Elon Musk. Let me find that. Maybe that was yesterday. J.D. Vance, Munich. And he was basically telling them, hey, we had to listen to Greta Thunberg for years, scream and holler at us. Here it is. Let's take a listen. Now, before I play this, I want you to understand something. There's a huge difference between the American government now and what we used to have with Joe Biden. This is a man that just went to the belly of the beast in the lion's den. Same thing that Donald Trump did when he went to the lion's den via video with the World Economic Forum. He went into the World Economic Forum and basically told them America was back and we ain't doing none of this stuff y'all talking about, right? So here's J.D. Vance going to Munich. And you know, in Germany, they all this stuff about we gonna block and we gonna ban Elon Musk and this and this and this. So J.D. Vance says, no, let me pull up. So he pulls up. You understand? That's what was going on. That's what Marco Rubio was going. Everybody was pulling up to Germany. Yeah, because Germany is very powerful in the European Union. So right now what we're doing is we pulling up in the European Union and chin checking people. So let's listen to J.D. Vance pull up and chin check. J.D.
I look to Brussels where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly,
look at these looks on these people's faces. You gotta understand what this. Please, ladies and gentlemen, don't be insulted when I say you gotta understand. It's one of my it's just a phrase that I use, and I know it can sound condescending. I'm sorry, and I'm gonna try my best to remove that phrase from my vernacular, and I need to replace it with something. So let's come up with something else. Imagine for a moment the EU, which is funded primarily by the United States of America, which means that all these people in these rooms, all of they funded. Matter of fact, the $2.2 trillion, all that money that they say was Medicare, Medicaid, that was sent overseas, that's money that's going to fund the EU. Imagine for a moment, the vice president comes in, which you know he coming at the order of the president, and he comes in, he just slaps you in your face. And he starts to talk about how you censoring people, how you arresting Christians, how you sitting here talking about feminism and arresting people for things they said about feminism. This is him coming into their house and urinating on their table while the food is on the table. Thanksgiving dinner. Everybody sitting around the table. He just says, here's how I feel about all y'all stuff. Psst. But I wanted you to have the proper perspective so you can hear what he's saying from the proper perspective. And it's a great thing for us. Some people will say, well, man, I don't know. No. This is a phenomenal thing for us. Because what this is saying is, no. We're not afraid of you. I'm coming to your house. And I'm going to talk this talk right in front of you. And you ain't going to do nothing. You ain't going to do nothing. And I want you to look at his demeanor. Because that's what his demeanor says. You not finna do nothing.
I look to Brussels, where EU commissars warn citizens that they intend to shut down social media during times of civil unrest the moment they spot what they've judged to be, quote, hateful content. Or to this very country, where police have carried out raids against citizens suspected of posting anti-feminist comments online as part of, quote, combating misogyny on the internet, a day of action. I look to Sweden, where 2 weeks ago the government convicted a Christian activist for participating in Koran burnings that resulted in his friend's murder. And as the judge in his case chillingly noted, Sweden's laws to supposedly protect free expression do not, in fact, grant, and I'm quoting, a free pass to do or say anything without risking offending the group that holds that belief. And perhaps most concerningly, I look to our very dear friends, the United Kingdom, where the backslide away from conscience rights has placed the basic liberties of religious Britons in particular in the crosshairs. A little over 2 years ago, the British government charged Adam Smith Connor, a 51-year-old physiotherapist and an Army veteran, with the heinous crime of standing 50 meters from an abortion clinic and silently praying for 3 minutes. Not obstructing anyone, not interacting with anyone, just silently praying on his own. And after British law enforcement spotted him and demanded to know what he was praying for, Adam replied simply, it was on behalf of the unborn son he and his former girlfriend had aborted years before. Now, the officers were not moved. Adam was found guilty of breaking the government's new buffer zones law, which criminalizes silent prayer and other actions that could influence a person's decision within 200 meters of an abortion facility. He was sentenced to pay thousands of pounds in legal costs.
Did you hear that? I want to be clear. You hear this. You hear what's being said. First of all, you need to understand. Change is coming with fire and brimstone. That's what's happening right now. Change is coming to the world, but it's coming with fire and brimstone. Like Elijah himself found some 12 stones and arranged them and started calling down fire. That's what's coming. But did you hear what he said? The government acknowledges the fact that prayer within the vicinity of an abortion clinic changes people's mind. So much so that they need to make a law to give a buffer zone. It's dumb because you can't buffer my prayers, but that's how wild this is. And that's how evil it's become. But see, if you don't know the stories, you don't pay no attention to the stories, you don't have an idea. Not you. Not me. But you, as in the word you. You don't have an idea how bad it's become. But he's laying out how bad it is.
To the prosecution. Now, I wish I could say that this was a fluke, a one-off crazy example of a badly written law being enacted against a single person. But no, this last October, just a few months ago, the Scottish government began distributing letters to citizens whose houses lay within so-called safe access zones, warning them that even private prayer within their own homes may amount to breaking the law. Naturally, the government urged readers to report any fellow citizens suspected guilty of thought crime. In Britain and across Europe, free speech, I fear, is in retreat.
Now, J.D. Vance, and I'm going to say this. See, J.D. is killing all kind of birds with these words. Now, they say you kill two birds with one stone. No. He got stones flying out of his mouth hitting all kind of birds. You notice he hit on Christian persecution. Yeah. Because the persecution of Christians was released through America. Through USAID. Damn, DW, you crazy. You don't know what you're talking about. No, I do. I know exactly what I'm talking about. Remember? Hillary Clinton went over there and she whacked Gaddafi. Remember that? They went over and they bust Gaddafi across his head. Because Gaddafi was trying to do his own gold-backed dollar and all the rest of it. This is why you got to understand, I was saying earlier that knowledge, for the sake of just knowledge, is useless. The knowledge that we get and we understand is deciphered through the kingdom of God. So watch this. Hillary goes over there, whacks Gaddafi, because Gaddafi, who's a Muslim, whacks Gaddafi because he wanted to have his own gold-backed dollar. What came out of whacking Gaddafi was the largest amount of Christian persecution in that area that has been seen probably in the last 200 years. And then we got the USAID sending funding out all over the world to finance the persecution of Christians. And so what J.D. Vance is saying is we've been funding y'all. That's the elephant in the room that nobody's talking about. But we've been funding y'all. We've been funded in the EU. After Trump came out and said, yeah, we need a better deal for the EU. The majority of the money that we give, we pay the majority of the cost for the EU. He puts pressure on them. J.D. Vance comes and he says, y'all going to stop persecuting Christians and y'all going to stop with this stupid censorship. Now, when he go back home, a couple of days later, Trump going to start talking about him again. Because it's right, left, uppercut. You know what I'm saying? Remember Mike Tyson punch out? Yeah, this was happening. They on the final level and they fighting Mike Tyson. And they losing. Mike Tyson punch out. They losing. But let's go a little bit further into what J.D. Vance has to say. This is a 15-minute layout. I don't want to go 15 minutes, J.D. I like you, but I don't want to go 15 minutes. I want. This is one of the ones I wanted you to hear.
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are...
Damn it. I am so sorry.
Very influential. And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, If American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what German democracy...
See, they didn't find that funny. They didn't find it funny, but really think about it. The little German child, German child, scolded the United States of America. Remember? I remember when Greta Thunberg hit the scene talking about climate, it was the most insulting thing that it was the most insulting thing that I ever heard. I'm like, this is a child scolding adults, scolding a nation. And we knew she didn't have somebody put her up to it. And that was them just urinating all on America. And that was them putting out an attack dog that really you couldn't attack her back. Because if you attack her back, then you're guilty of attacking a child. It was a perfectly woven trap and snare for any political person in America, which is why, for the most part, she was ignored, because it was a tar baby. You grab onto that tar baby, you stuck with it. Now you have an exchange back and forth with a kid. There's no man in power that should go back and forth with a child. I don't care how popular you are. But the trap made it to where she could just sit there and keep on going and talking and talking and talking. And in fact, I'm going to show you Greta after he talks.
What no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered.
I should stop cutting it off because we lose the train of thought. Let's start it over, okay?
And expressing opinions isn't election interference. Even when people express views outside your own country, and even when those people are very influential. And trust me, I say this with all humor, if American democracy can survive 10 years of Greta Thunberg scolding, you guys can survive a few months of Elon Musk. But what no democracy, American, German, or European, will survive is telling millions of voters that their thoughts and concerns, their aspirations, their pleas for relief are invalid or unworthy of even being considered. And expressing opinion.
All right, so we got his whole statement. And in context, ladies and gentlemen, what he's doing is, and I've said this from the beginning, he's going over there and outlining their behavior pattern if they want to get paid. I just want to be clear with you. He's basically in a nice way saying, you ain't going to do A, you ain't going to do B, you ain't going to do C, you damn sure ain't finna lay up here and do D. Oh, and E, forget about it. F, oh, hell no, we not having F. But this is why I like J.D. Vance. He's so polished. This is the perfect role for him. Because Trump will go over there and just spaz out in front of, like, he'll go off script and just spaz. Yeah, he really will, because that's just how Donald Trump is. He spazzes, that's why we love him. But this is one of those times where you actually need somebody who's going to stay on point to lay out the talking points. And we know that these talking points were crafted out of the White House. But just to jump to Greta Thunberg for a second. Wow, everything is about him talking about Greta Thunberg. That's wild. Give me a second. Greta Thunberg. Climate rage. So here's Greta Thunberg.
Show me what the people looks like. Show me what power looks like. Show me what democracy looks like. Show me what democracy looks like.
Now she's running around doing pro-Palestine climate change activism.
Show me what the people look like. Show me what.
But that's not the worst thing about Greta. Here she is. This is the worst Greta. Here, this is the worst version of Greta right here. Listen to this foolishness.
We are in the beginning of a mass extinction, and all you can talk about is money and fairy tales of eternal economic growth. How dare you?
No, I want the whole Greta Thunberg. This is a better clip.
During the last months, millions of children have been school striking for the climate. gaining lots of attention for the climate crisis. But we children are not leaders, nor are the scientists, unfortunately. But many of you here today are. Presidents, celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and journalists. People listen to you. They are influenced by you. And therefore you have an enormous responsibility. And let's be honest, this is a responsibility that most of you have failed to take. If there really was a crisis this big, then we would rarely talk about anything else. As soon as you turn on the TV, almost everything will be about that. Headlines, radio, newspapers. You would almost never hear or read about anything else. And the politicians would surely have done what was needed by now, wouldn't they? They would hold crisis meetings all the time, declare climate emergencies everywhere, and spend all their waking hours handling the situation and informing the people what was going on.
This is a very wicked attack. And if you recall, the way that it was dealt with was via, don't say that about people, James. The way it was dealt with was via mockery through the internet. No real politician addressed her, but the systems in place in social media, which unfortunately, guys, you just got to come to the conclusion that some of the people on social media are CIA, both good and bad, and they're plants, both good and bad. But nonetheless, they were the ones that dealt with Greta Thunberg because they mocked her to death. I mean, they literally mocked this child unlike anything you've ever seen, which was the only way you could deal with it. I'm sorry, there was no other way. No official capacity could you equate her crying, whining, and screaming with the office of the president of the United States or a senator or a congressman or even someone in the state legislature. It would be the worst juxtaposition that you could ever create, and it would be the worst rewarding of this behavior that you could ever do. To add credibility to her from any state government, federal government branch would be insane. Right. So let's move on to the next thing. Let's take a look at. No. There was something else I wanted to take a look at. Oh, my guy. My guy. Let me say this to you. When I worked as a political consultant, I kind of idolized James Carville because of his power and his influence and his straightforwardness. But I want you to understand where the Democratic Party is right now. And if you want to know where everything is going on, you need to go listen to what Jim Carville says. And somebody will say, well, DW, I can't believe you idolize that wicked man. I just told you the truth. If you want to understand how power works, then you need to, especially in Louisiana, then you need to know Jim. Listen to what he has to say. And when you see Jim confused and Jim thrown aback, it's almost like watching aliens land on national TV for anybody who truly understands politics, because the man is never in that. He's never in this place. It's literally watching a flying saucer landing and opening up, and they're like, hello, take me to your leader. He's like, what the hell is going on? But watch what he has to say.
Yeah. First of all, don't forget Rod Blagojevich. Trump is a criminal. The criminals like to be around other criminals.
And a mob boss.
Yeah. So Bannon is right. We are flooded in shit. And we are searching for a way to deal with this. These are extraordinarily difficult times. Again, we're getting overwhelmed. And things that we thought that would kill a political career, that would be poisonous for whatever reason, this guy keeps trugging along.
Now, I want you to look at the look on his face. Right there. See that look in his eyes? That's a man who's been sitting at home, tailgating everything that happened. Did you see that look? That's a look like. Everything that I know that would kill a political career, none of it's worked. None of it's worked. And I want you to understand, there was a time period in that presidential race where they didn't listen to him. There were time periods when they did listen to him. The person that did listen to him was Hillary the first time. So this Hillary listened to him, and Hillary got stumped. So he got his butt stumped by Hillary. This Joe thing was Obama himself. And then when Kamala came, and they all realized that, hold on, Joe has done lost his mind, and we can't really talk. He can't really talk. They all came together and they said, no. We got to work together because this is going to end bad. And they threw everything. They threw everything. I was sitting here telling you that came from Jim Carvell. Because Jim Carvell is a gloves off type of guy. And when you see him with that glazed over look in his eyes, like, we're overwhelmed. We're in very difficult times. We're overwhelmed. Yeah, you're damn right you're overwhelmed, Jim. Because the problem is, all the right moves don't work when you fighting God. All the right moves don't work when all the traps don't work when you're fighting the Lord. It just don't work. And that's the one thing that people refuse to understand. You saw it. Everybody literally saw it during the assassination attempt. And people tried to shoo it away. It wasn't blood. The bullet didn't hit him. But you saw that man. You saw in that moment when that man fell to his face and became a priest of God. They tried to whack him. Then you saw the flag wrapped up like an angel. Like, people literally witnessed the miracle. And then they shoo away the miracle and listen to the media, and the media say, "Oh, they didn't hit his ear." And then the trolls from USAID came out and said that he was the Antichrist because he took a head wound. And I'm like, yo, you ain't never read the Bible. It's a deadly head wound. Getting shot in the ear ain't deadly. A deadly head wound means your head cracked open. If you want to take it literal, your head cracked and you died. That's why it's a deadly head wound. And so people just didn't look at the truth. But when I look in Jim's eyes, I see a man right there that's defeated. That's defeat I see. I don't know if y'all see it, but I want you to look. Let me make sure you can see this. Let me make it big. I want you to see that defeat in his eyes. See that defeat right there? Yeah, that right there is defeat. Confusion. And he's in the future trying to figure out there's a way out of it, and he can't find it. He can't find it. And I submit to you that none of them gonna find it. Because they playing checkers while God playing chess. They ain't gonna find a way out of it. No, you ain't finding a way out of it. You tried the assassination attempts, multiple assassination attempts, none of them worked. Multiple. You tried everything. And see, this is the problem with wicked people. When they try everything and they should quit, they won't quit. They just double down, triple down, quadruple down. And it ain't got to the level to where he's in danger yet. But his career is in jeopardy. But it ain't got to the level where they said, okay, let's go into the investigation and find out what you had to say and what you had to do with all this foolishness. We ain't got to that level yet, but I believe it will. And when we get to that level, it's going to be insane. We saw this yesterday with Ashley, whatever this thing's name is. But this is another reason why you know without a doubt that they're lost and they are going to lose forever. Listen to what she's saying.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
That's right. Censoring American people and advancing progress. Let's play it again.
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here. I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues. I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress.
You notice how everybody got quiet for a second? Like, hold on, what you talking about, girl? You ain't supposed to say that. Why behind the scenes are they willing to work with anybody who's willing to censor the American people and make progress and supporting progress? And who? Everybody's heard this clip, but do you think anybody's actually thought for a moment who the hell is she talking to and who is she signaling? Again, let's listen to it. And I just want you to consider, who is she signaling to?
Look, let me tell you something. I'll take a bit of umbrage here.
I'll take a little bit of umbrage here, which means I'll take the liberty of talking for everybody.
I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues.
I'll speak on behalf of my colleagues.
I think I can say we are all willing to work with anyone who's serious.
Anyone who's serious
about doing the work of censoring the American people and advancing progress. That's right. But they are not serious. Look.
Who is she signaling to? I think she's signaling to foreign nations. That's what I personally think. Because you wouldn't say that unless you're looking for support and help. And I need you guys to understand, see, all these press conferences, they have dual meanings. So they run to you, think about it. They run to USAID. They run to the Department of Education. They do all these things and they have these panic attacks. Yes, they have panic attacks. There's no doubt about that. But what are they saying and who are they talking to? I mean, who are they talking to? And I personally think they're talking to the enemies of the United States of America. That's what I think. This is the one I wanted to find, and then we're going to stop here. And we're going to listen to this one together. Hopefully you won't get bored. But this is Elon Musk at the World Government Summit. And I need you to understand, he's going to the World Government Summit. Now, let me pop this open so you can see it. And remember, Donald Trump went to the World Economic Forum. And so when you hear people say that Trump is a globalist, Elon is a globalist, right wing, left wing, the same bird. They literally go into the heart of the systems and telling the systems how the future is going to work. Not coming into agreement with those systems, telling the systems how the future is going to work. It is going to go as such. Excuse me, Elon, talk, please.
Is that all you do?
I'm wearing my official uniform. Tech support.
You were probably the busiest man on earth prior to January 20th. I don't know what you call yourself now, but we really appreciate you taking the time for being with us.
I don't know.
So,
yeah, White House tech support.
So we're gonna maybe steer our conversation in three directions. The first is we're going to talk about Doge, then we're going to move to AI, and then finally we're going to conclude with boring cities.
Great.
And I'd like to start off by maybe talking about how consequential you are for human history. I think no single person has had such an impact on space, on communication, on artificial intelligence, on transport, and the transition to green energy. And there was always a trend. There were deniers or critics at first, then naysayers, and then supporters. And typically people always start by saying, he overpromises and he won't deliver. Then they finally see the trend and the trajectory and they turn out to be supporters. Do you think we'll see that in the government efficiency space? Like people are going to really see the impact very quickly and transition to becoming supporters?
Well, yes. First of all, I think we've got quite a lot of support from at least the American public, and I think from maybe around the world. When the public is polled on sort of improving government efficiency, in fact, it is, I believe, the highest polling single issue, meaning that it is something that appeals to voters from of all types. And I think improving government efficiency, I think, was like almost 70% support, so quite a lot, basically, more than any other issue. So I think the people are very supportive. Obviously, there's certain elements of the bureaucracy that are not supportive because we are moving them from the government sector to the private sector. So it really, at a high level.
And guys, I know some of you guys are about to drop off because people don't really. People ask for an hour-long video, but they stay for 20 minutes. Everybody's heard about the Great Reset, right? And how Klaus Schwab says there will be a global reset. We need the Great Reset. What you got to understand is that these guys, him, Trump, they're resetting before they can do a reset. So they're making a reset themselves of the global systems. This is why him being here is so significant. And them doing it on the world stage is so significant because now they've offered another choice to the world. So they're sitting there saying, hey, in America, we're destroying the bureaucracy. And the bureaucracy is what has led to wars, famine, and all this foolishness. So we're going to prosper in America. You can go along with the globalist Great Reset if you want to. Or you can move in a direction of efficiency and making your citizens prosperous and happy. So God did his own reset. They thought they was going to do a reset. God is doing his own reset. And I'm hoping that people understand this. This is why if you really look at my comments, you'll see where people will say stuff and I get so pissed. And most people don't respond to comments once they get to 100-something thousand subscribers. I'm at 400,000. I still respond because I don't even want the narratives to take place and set in on my platform in any way, shape, or form. God has done his own reset. Point blank, period. And if you look at the news from that perspective, you'll see everything. So they just did the reset before they could do the global reset. Remember, the global reset was supposed to 2030 is going to be the global reset. Now they said, now we're going to hit a reset button now. Boom. And you see it. So God just reset health with Make America Healthy Again. They just reset the FBI, which is all about policing, reset USAID, which is about funding, and it really was used to export perversions and wicked things out to other nations. Reset, 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 reset. And this reset, and I'm going to listen to a little bit more of this, but I think we need to end this. But this reset that has happened here, that we are witnessing, that we are living through, you're living through some of the greatest times ever. This reset that you're witnessing is destroying the option for the globalists to do a reset. Not just taking a button. It's like they had a button on their desk. You unscrewed the thing, took the button, went inside, took all the mechanisms out of the button. Now they're taking the wires, and everything that they built is being destroyed. And so nations, this is why Elon going here is so significant, because nations now have the choice. And there's going to be a juxtaposition, and we're going to see who wants to go in what direction. But they're making it clear what direction they're going. And I submit to you that there are going to be other nations that say, no. We want to follow behind America. We want to do what Elon and Trump are doing. Which part of the reason why you see Steve Bannon losing his mind, because Steve Bannon lost kind of a little bit of his position and influence. But that's what happens in power games. You know what I'm saying? When people can't have power and influence, they attack you and all the rest of that. But let's go a little bit further.
Well, this is kind of like we're moving people from low to sometimes negative productivity roles in the government sector to higher productivity roles in the private sector. And the net effect of that will be an increase in the output of useful goods and services, which increases the standard of living and well-being of the average American.
And you usually have one key target that you aim to achieve in every single endeavor that you have. So SpaceX is make humanity a multi-planetary species. With Tesla, it's usher in an era of sustainable travel. What is the one main goal for government efficiency that you have for yourself? Is it saving money? Is it doing something else? What is the one main task that you have for yourself?
So there's, I guess, well, there's a few ways to describe it, but the actions end up being the same, which is like reducing the size of government, and making the government much more accountable to the people, I think is going to lead to a better outcome for the people. What I've said is that we really have here rule of the bureaucracy as opposed to rule of the people democracy. So we want to restore rule of the people. And so what that means is reducing the size of the federal government, basically reducing regulation. There's a tremendous amount of over-regulation that's happened over time. And this is an inevitable consequence of a long period of prosperity, is that you're going to get more and more rules and regulations, more laws accumulate over time. And the normal forcing function for getting rid of rules and regulations is war. So it needs to be some kind of existential war, where you have to do a reset in order to avoid being defeated in a war. This is literally throughout history, it's been the main forcing function for clearing out an accumulation of laws and regulation. In the absence of that, every year you get more laws and regulations until eventually everything is illegal and nothing is permitted. And that's sort of the situation we have these days. So, the aspiration here is a reduction in regulation and reduction in government spending, such that the economy is able to grow faster. Maybe the economy can grow at 4 or 5% potentially, in terms of real useful goods and services output, and then government spending can be reduced by about 3 or 4% of the economy, about maybe $1 trillion or more. And the net effect of that would be no inflation from 2025 to 2026. So that would be quite remarkable. And also, if the U.S. government is buying less debt, which I think will be the case, if the deficit drops from 2 trillion to 1 trillion, then there'll be 1 trillion less debt that the government needs to buy, which will drop, of course, interest rates to drop significantly. And that means people's mortgage payments, car payments, credit card payments, student loans, whatever debt they have, their debt payments will be less. So
now, I'm cutting it off because the way Elon talks puts you into a trance. And he's saying a mouthful. So he's talking about cutting the debt by $1 trillion and how it affect the interest rates. Meaning, if we have less debt because our debt is divided per American citizen, right? So I want to say right now, each American citizen is in debt $103,000 based on the budget deficit. Based on the deficit or the debt of the United States of America. So what he's saying is, we cut the debt, interest rates will be cut. Organically, they should be cut. Housing, the issue that we're going to see coming up next is Donald Trump is going to have to deal with the Federal Reserve. If I'm not mistaken, Alex Jones came out and he made a prediction that Donald Trump would nationalize the Federal Reserve. He kind of has no choice, because they can do all this cutting, they can do everything they want to do. But as long as the Federal Reserve is a private bank that is a private board that can make independent decisions, the last piece of the puzzle that can fight against his movement is the Federal Reserve. And so what Elon is telling you is he's predicting and he's telling you what's coming next. And I want to say this. The most danger that America will be in, and you and me will be in, is when they go to destroy the creature from Jekyll Island. Yeah. Y'all read the book, The Creature on Jekyll Island. Nobody don't know about the altar that was on Jekyll Island, that a man went down there and rent to ashes. But The Creature on Jekyll Island, you ever read that book, DW? You need to read that book, The Creature on Jekyll Island. I read that 20 years ago. You ever read Beheld a Pearl White Horse? 20 years ago, when it first hit the shelf. The point I'm making is this. We moving so fast. It's lightning speed at the destruction of systems that have been weaponized against the American people and enslaved the American people, that people don't even see how quickly they're destroying these systems. It's why, going back a few minutes ago, Jim Carvell was like, we're overwhelmed. Because it's an attack that overwhelms the enemy. They can't function because you don't know what to defend. I said earlier in this video that all the pressure points were being hit. Bro, everything getting hit. It's masterful. It's beautiful. It's glorious what I'm seeing. It's like a controlled, synchronized demolition. Like, they just said, okay, we're going to hit this button. Boom. And all these buildings just came down. Boom, 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 boom. All right, wait a second. Let's get the American people to understand this. Oh, they're paying, they understand. Boom, 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 boom. It's masterful. It really is. I mean, it's glorious. It's amazing.
I think this is something that will benefit the average American. I think some of the things we're doing also will be hopefully helpful to other countries, because with the new administration, there's less interest in interfering with the affairs of other countries. I think a lot of there's the times the United States has been kind of pushy in international affairs, which may resonate with a number of members of the audience. And I think we should, in general, leave other countries to their own business. And basically, America should mind its own business, rather than push for regime change all over the place.
USAID is a mechanism in which regime change was made all over the place. And so attacking that and then coming talking about it, anybody who's like in power or play power games or of any significant role on a national stage or the world stage knows that what he's saying is true, and they have evidence to support what he's saying. Imagine him talking about this without destroying USAID and saying, well, America should mind his own business. Now imagine the leverage he has now. And you got to understand, Donald Trump is 100% support of him going to say this and having this conversation. Probably told him he needed to go do it. And so imagine going into this room and talking to all these extremely wealthy people. It's clearly obvious that everybody here is wealthy, and saying, yeah, America's about to mind his business. And then they have the evidence that America is minding his business. Now they all got to go sit and plot and plan and say, okay, we not finna be enslaved by the American system.
So, yeah. So I think this is probably a good thing for other countries too.
So instead of waiting for a war to happen, you went to war against the bureaucracy in the government.
Yes, we're essentially just we're with the support and direction of President Trump. We are reducing the size of the bureaucracy, getting rid of excess regulatory regulations, and there's also so many agencies and regulatory authorities that they actually step on each other's feet. It's kind of like having a sports game where there are too many referees on the field, like more referees than players at times. Now that would be a silly game, if the players can't pass the ball without hitting a referee, But it's kind of getting to that point in the U.S. So there's roughly 450 federal agencies of one kind or another. That's more agencies. That's almost an average of 2 agencies per year since the formation of the United States. So, I mean, how many agencies do you really need to run a country? 99? Not 450, that's for sure. So,
and how do you guarantee that all the incredible achievements that you aim to have in terms of savings, in terms of impacting the lives of the American people, are not going to be reversed in 4 years? Typically, the cycle gets reversed every 4 years. Do you think it's going to be so impactful that it won't be reversed? Is there any ways that you can ensure that the progress is going to be continuous?
Well, I think we do need to delete entire agencies as opposed to leave part of them behind. Because if you leave part of them behind, it's easy. It's kind of like leaving a weed. If you don't remove the roots of the weed, then it's easy for the weed to grow back. But if you remove the roots of the weed, it doesn't stop weeds from ever growing back, but it makes it harder. So we have to really delete entire agencies, many of them. And that's not to say there won't be an increase over time of bureaucracy in some new administration, but it'll be from a much lower baseline. So it's a step in the right direction. I think the overarching goal here is to lay the foundation for prosperity that will last many decades, maybe centuries. And but it will be forever. Nothing's forever. But I think we can strengthen the foundations of the United States substantially.
And what lessons can other governments learn from the U.S.? You say tech support on your shirt. Is that only technology, or is there other things? How do you approach efficiency?
Well, a shocking percentage of the problem, well, maybe not shocking for those who know it, but a big percentage of the problem is improving the technology that the government runs on. So the U.S. government runs on a collection of thousands of computers, many of them antiquated, running very old software, and the computers don't talk to each other. So that's why tech support is kind of a real thing. In order to make the government more efficient, you have to improve the technology. You may have read about the example I used recently when President Trump was signing one of the DOGE executive orders of the difficulty of U.S. government workers retiring. Like the maximum retirement rate is $10,000 a month, and the reason for that is because the retirement is entirely paperwork right now. It's manually calculated paperwork that's put in an envelope and then taken down a mine shaft and stored in a mine. And then one of the things that affects the rate at which federal workers can retire is the speed of the elevator in a mine in Pennsylvania.
Well, okay. Someone may be saying, why is he talking about this, and what's the significance of this thing about retirement and the rate and the speed at which government agents or government employees are able to retire? Because there's a significant portion of the workforce that they want to get rid of. And so what he's basically saying is, as far as shrinking the government, there are people who want to retire. Because you got to realize, they gave people buyout options to buy out and leave. You don't give a buyout option to somebody who's been, working for the government for 50 years. They're not taking no buyout. I want to retire. So you had a two-pronged approach. You had the buyout for the new people that came in under the administration of Joe Biden over the past 4 years, and people came under the Obama administration. But then you need to get rid of the rest of the people. When you talk about a bureaucracy, you're talking about people who've been there for 30, 40 years. The best thing to do is give them an option to retire. So there are people who they're saying, we want you out of here. And they're like, well, I freaking retire. But the problem is there's an issue with processing that retirement. So now this is why this is brought to the forefront, ladies and gentlemen, where he's saying, okay, well, no, we need to fix this retirement system because we plan on getting rid of these people, and shrinking the government. A part of the inefficiency of shrinking the government is the fact that we can't get the retirement paperwork processed. And that's been done intentionally, right? So the reason why this has hit the mainstream, you saw this hit the news, but I just wanted to give you the reason behind it hitting the news so you'll understand it from the proper perspective. Yeah, they're talking about shrinking the government. There's people who work for the government who deserve a retirement. Now, some of them may be bureaucrats that's been in places forever, but they ain't going to take no buyout. Think about it. If we was in the government for 40 years, 50 years, and we just been a cog in the wheel, we ain't been stealing no money, but paperwork come across our desk. We even seen the fraud, but we ain't participating in the fraud. That ain't none of our business. We just going home taking care of our family. It's a government job. And we see all these changes going on, and they say we want to shrink the government. You can't just fire me. You can't. There's certain people you're not going to just be able to fire. And the right thing to do for those people is they put in their retirement, they want to retire, let them retire. And watch what happens once this is, and I think he's going to quickly fix it. You'll see 10,000, 15,000 people retire in a month, 20,000. It's going to be a rush for people to retire and get their retirement benefits. And the government size is going to shrink again. The government debt's going to go down again. The infrastructure cost for the government is going to go down. So people who are in all these buildings that they don't need them buildings no more. Now, the reason why I watch these kind of things is twofold. I watch them because I want to know, but also as an entrepreneur, what it says to me is there's going to be a lot of buildings that you can buy at steep discounts. I mean, a lot of buildings. What scares me is, okay, what the hell are they going to do with these buildings? To me, it kind of like goes into the smart city plan a little bit, where everybody's downtown in the area where they're in these government buildings that have been renovated and turned into smart cities and captured locations. It's a little bit worrying for me. Sidebar note for you entrepreneurs out there and real estate investors, you do know that his Star City was approved, where it's the Elon Musk city where they're going to be launching rockets. We're going on a trip in our favorite rocket ship, flying through the sky, little Einstein. And I'll give you another key, because not many people will go this far. But by him getting approval, he has shown the type of land, the type of location where other people are going to be building space centers, because he ain't going to be the only person going to space. Space is now privatized. So you're not going to be the only person going to space. So for those of you guys who are land developers and want to buy land, you should really do a deep dive into what made him buy that land and what made it the perfect suitable location. And maybe, just maybe, you can start buying stuff around another area to where you can be pre-positioned to be in a great place to make some moolah, baby. But I don't know.
Which is
I don't know anything. James Williams is dumb. Yeah, he don't know nothing.
Bizarre because it's not. It should be digital, you know. So then when we said, well, why isn't it digital? They said, well, we have had a digitization program going since 2014. So that's been 11 years. So then we asked, well, so how much progress have you made? And they said, B. You mean you're giving yourself a.
All right, guys, I got to stop it. I'm sorry, Lord. I'm running late. It's prayer time. It's 12:30. And I'm a few minutes late. And I'm being summoned to the place of prayer. So, we'll be back in the morning. And I think I'm going to pick up right here on this. In fact, I'm going to leave this, and when I come back, I'm going to pick up, but you're going to hear it tomorrow morning on Saturday morning. So when your kids get up to watch the cartoons and your grandchildren get up to watch the cartoons, turn on the Dog Watch channel while they watching their cartoons. And make sure you're watching the cartoons that they watching, because these cartoons ain't what we grew up with, man. They got all kind of subliminal messages in the damn cartoons. Yeah. Well, hell, they had the subliminal messages in the cartoons when we was kids. Man, I don't know. How about that? But I think this was a good show. I think this was a really good show. Deuces. I'm going to see y'all on the next one.